Hey, I'm Stephanie Burch, and thanks for joining us for another edition of the Love Revolution. I'm super excited. I have a really good friend, Kevin Raymond, here with me today. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And we're at Cathedral of the Incarnation on West End. Beautiful, awesome church. Very special to me.
Absolutely.
I met Kevin when I started getting interested in Catholicism, and you lead up the RCI
I do. I'm
program.
the director of RCA here at the Cathedral.
And,
Yeah.
you know, fate has a funny way of working. Of course, we say it's God.
Of course it does.
But if it had been anybody but you, I don't know if I would have followed down this path. But, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but, I mean, he's just so cool and creative and amazing. You bring so much progressive, creative energy. Everybody knows that to this parish.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
And some very cool things that we have to talk about today.
Yeah, we do. Lots, I guess, huh?
People would say like the walls would fall down if Kevin wasn't holding it up. But you came up with. Do you want to talk about the Music Fest first or the other?
Whatever you want to, but I think that if we talk about the Music Fest first and how this all came about, maybe that's the best way.
Because that is what started it all. So
it literally is.
So I've had my share of definitely metaphysical interactions with the other side, and Kevin embraced that the moment I told him about it, and not everybody experiences those things, so it was really appreciated that I wasn't judged or thought of as weird, and that's what I love about Catholics, because there's this relationship with the other side.
There's a whole realm that we can't physically see.
Right,
you know?
but they are very much a part of our lives.
Absolutely. People that have gone before us, saints, angels,
Right.
they're all...
The angelic
They're all
kingdom
out
is
there.
huge. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah. So it kind of started with your relationship with San Gennaro.
I will. This is very interesting. About 3 years ago, I have some really good friends here at the Cathedral, Ken Liedeker, Paula LaRocque, and Janie Gibbons. And we travel together a lot, and we've been having dinner together every Friday night for probably 6 years now.
Cool.
But part of the impetus for those dinners was for us to actually plan a trip to Italy. So 3 years ago, we went to Italy, and we spent most of our time south of Rome, and we started in Sicily. And when we left Sicily, we actually wound up on the Amalfi Coast, and there was a beautiful little town that we stayed in called Priano, which is literally 8 kilometers from Positano and 8 kilometers from Amalfi, like dead center.
It's beautiful there.
And the cliffs overlooking the Mediterranean Sea, and at the
Right.
bottom of the hillside near a bus stop was a beautiful yellow stucco church with these green and white majolica tiles on the bell tower and whatnot. And the name of the church was San Gennaro. And
Cool.
there was also a little trattoria, a great little restaurant next to the church called San Gennaro. And I fell in love with the church. Like, you walked out onto the playground for the children. They had basketball courts and volleyball courts and whatnot. And, it looked over a cliff, and there's the Mediterranean Sea and the Isle of Capri and this beautiful blue sky and beautiful blue Mediterranean water. But
Right.
there was something really special about this church, and I couldn't figure it out, at all. Fast forward a couple of years. I had a job producing a Christmas show at a resort in Wisconsin for 13 years. And we had a 3-year contract with them, and on what would have been our 14th year, found out in January of 2013, a year and a half ago, that they canceled our contract early, which was, sort of devastating after you've done something for this long.
Right.
And shortly before that, I kept getting all these little, what I guess I still call them God winks, little tidbits of information that kept coming at me, and they would be these disjunct little pieces of information that I couldn't quite put together.
Right.
And so all of a sudden, one day, about 3 or 4 months past us finding out that our contract was canceled, and I didn't have a job, and I was panicking about money, and all of the things.
Isn't it funny how life works?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I finally put all of this information together, along with being on the parish council and this church constantly being in debt because of renovation. It's 100 years old.
Right.
That there was a job that I was supposed to be doing, and it was to try to create maybe a fair or a festival that a lot of churches up north, a lot of Catholic churches, that's how they make their money for the year. They'll have a big festival, and people come and spend loads of money, and they can use that for whatever they need to at the parish. We really need money to help us pay off a previous renovation that still isn't paid, and also, it's 100 years old. We have renovations that are needing to take place right now that we need money for.
Right.
So I truly and honestly believe in the depth of my soul that San Gennaro was trying to say, hey, look, you need to do this festival thing, but it's Music City, USA. Make it a music festival.
Right.
There are quite a few successful San Gennaro fests across the nation, like New York, Chicago, LA, Phoenix. They're pretty big, but the focus is the Italian culture.
Right.
Ours, which came about when I finally acquiesced and said, okay, God, whatever it is that you're asking me to do, I will do this thing. For months I kept saying, it's just too much work, I can't do this, and I fought it, and it got really noisy in here, and finally I acquiesced. But our San Gennaro festival here will actually focus not only on the Italian foods and culture, but also on music,
right.
being Music City, USA.
Makes sense.
Hence the name San Gennaro Music Fest.
Right.
Another one of our RCIA team members that you know quite well, Jackie Stallman,
right.
that was the first person that I went to with this idea, and it was almost comical. I went through the whole story that I just gave you, and her first reaction was, oh my gosh, that's a lot of work. And we walked out to the parking lot, and we kind of stood and surveyed for a while, and I got the go-ahead, because all she said was, but I think we can do it. I think we can make this happen.
Right.
So we told a couple of more friends, put together like an 11-page proposal, went to Father Ed, who's the pastor here at the cathedral, and got maybe 4 minutes into a breakfast conversation with him, and he was like, I've heard enough. My heart sunk to the bottom of my chest, and I was like, oh, it's going to get shot down. And he was like, this is great. We need to do this. I've been talking to all of the restaurants and people in the area to try to create a block party, but this is by far beyond any of my expectations. Let's roll.
Right.
And so for the past, since January, I believe was our first meeting, like January 16th of this year, I believe, or 17th, something like that, was our very first meeting concerning the San Gennaro Music Fest, and talking to volunteers at the cathedral and trying to get people involved and open up the doors for this. But it's going to be a huge festival, September 20th and 21st.
Yep, not far, about a month and a half away.
6 weeks from this weekend, yes. But it's a 2-day festival. On Saturday, the festival will be from 10 to 10. On Sunday, from 12 to 8. Every hour on the hour, we're going to have music acts that alternate between 2 stages that'll be in our parking lots. We're closing down 20th Avenue and Terrace Place to accommodate the crowds. The alley behind the cathedral, we're turning into Little Italy. There's going to be about 17 tents with all kinds of different foods and spirits and espresso and gelato and cannoli and all these beautiful, wonderful Italian cultural foods and flavors.
Right.
The parking lot between our main offices in Qdoba is being turned into something we're calling Pompeii Playground. So there's a huge place for the kids to be all day long.
Awesome.
We'll have 5 or 6 food trucks here all day long, which should bring in a whole different set of interests.
Yeah, that's a really cool aspect.
Yeah,
too.
So it's music and it's food and it's got a real Italian flavor, but we're trying to make it distinctly our own Nashville flavor. There'll be there'll be barbecue, there'll be things that you would find at any normal Southern festival.
And the music will be diverse.
Everything.
Yeah, from Christian to country to rock.
Absolutely.
To all of it.
Easy listening.
Right.
Jazz. Hopefully, I'm still trying to work it out. I've got a really good friend from Italy who's an opera singer that's got a wonderful band. It's called Neapolitan, and he teamed up with a percussionist that takes all these old Neapolitan folk songs like Funiculi, Funicula, Come Back to Sorrento, and sets them to like these really cool R&B beats and whatnot. So
very cool.
But he's amazing, and I'm really hoping that we can wind up with him here for the weekend as well. So it's a really diverse set of music. So it's not just a country music festival. It's a music festival where we celebrate everything. And
that's what I love about this church and this parish and you, and you're very diverse and open, and that's going to be very cool. And it will be an annual event?
Yes, this is our inaugural, but we're planning on making it an annual event here. Midtown, from what I understand right now, and the way Nashville is expanding, Midtown is where the Gulch was about 3 or 4 years ago.
Right.
There's all this new construction happening here, and things are going up like crazy, and so this is the new it spot in Nashville, and Mayor Carl Dean, who's actually a parishioner here,
Right.
was real excited about that when Father told him about it, and Metro Public Works has been so helpful trying to get this thing off the ground. But it not only is it a festival for Midtown, but the cathedral needed some sort of a signature event that would give us a thumbprint, like Assumption Church has the Oktoberfest,
Right.
and Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox has the Greek
The Greek
Festival.
Fest,
Yeah,
right.
we're hoping that the San Gennaro Music Fest will be our
Signature.
thumbprint on Midtown and give us a signature here as well.
Yeah, and how perfect. I mean, I think, we're never asked to do anything we're not qualified for. And, Kevin's background in theater and music and directing, and then Jackie has such a
All of her
background
music booking and all that kind of thing.
dealing with bands and artists. I mean, everybody in this parish has so much creative talent.
Yeah.
It's just like all the pieces were there, and you just had to figure out how to piece
Yeah,
them
exactly.
together.
Yeah, we had all the pieces that we needed.
Right.
We just needed to round it all into one committee to
And
say,
organize it.
let's make this happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I remember being in the very first meetings and feeling the energy and the chills, and it's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be something you'd want to see. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
So come on out, September 19th and 20th, right?
September 2021.
20 and 21.
Saturday the 20th and Sunday the 21st.
Okay.
From 10 to 10 and 12 to 8.
Okay,
PM.
come on out to Cathedral at the West End Cathedral of the Incarnation, and you'll have a great time. And now we can talk about some of the things that you guys decided to do to fund this.
Absolutely.
Which is you created Cathedral Players.
Cathedral Players. It's a new arts program that we've created here. There are ministries that every church needs to have. We need to feed the homeless. We need to clothe people. But part of a huge part of a church is the hospitality and the camaraderie or community that you have to create amongst people. And
Right.
being that the cathedral has, I believe that our membership is 37 zip codes. We have people from northern Alabama and southern Kentucky that actually come here on Sundays.
Wow. So it's a cool church. I'm telling you.
It is.
I'm telling
It's
you
a really
people.
cool church.
Yeah.
But we don't have a parish school. There's no school here. So adults who have children don't necessarily meet each other like they might at a place like St. Anne's or Holy Rosary where there's a school involved.
Right.
So community is difficult. So we wanted to try to create some things that would happen here that would promote a sense of community amongst our members. I also cantor, which is a person who song leads here in the Catholic Church, and until I actually started doing that, I generally went to the 11 a.m. Mass here and never knew anybody from Saturday at 5 or Sunday at 8:30 or Sunday at 5.
Right.
And now that I do that, I see all of these different faces that I've never known before. That's what we're trying to do, create a community here
Right.
of one body of people. And Cathedral Players is a new arts program that it's kind of a double entendre as far as the words are concerned. Players as in like music players, and players as in the theater players, actors. But as it stands right now, every other month, we started in February, we're doing a series of writers' rounds. It's like our own little Bluebird night here in
Right.
the rectory. They're called Writers' Round at the rectory. And we have a host and a series of people who come and play. And we've had Buddy Hyatt from Toto and Marty Morgan, who is Lori Morgan's brother, and like some pretty high-end writers come in and
Yeah.
do nights here already. And we don't have a long-established tradition of writers' nights,
Right.
but
Some major songwriters. I've seen the list. Yeah.
it's a really cool thing. But we're doing those every 2 months, and then next year we're trying to expand once a month. It's usually the third week on a Friday evening from 7:30 to 9:30 that we do this, and it's hard to describe because it's like a house concert. You
Right.
go into this 100-year-old rectory with this beautiful decor, and it's like a mini house concert.
Right.
So it's a nice evening, and then also we have created a theater troupe with the Cathedral Players. In March, the first 2 weekends of March, we did Nonsense. That was our inaugural show that was absolutely hysterical. And currently, we started last weekend, and we still have 2 more weekends of a beautiful musical called 2 by 2, which is basically about Noah and the flood.
Right.
And it's set to music, and Danny Kaye opened it on Broadway in 1970, and it lasted for 10 months on Broadway, and it's in the Rodgers and Hammerstein Library. So the music is really wonderful.
Can't wait to see
But,
it. I'm
yeah.
going next weekend. Yeah.
Awesome.
And it's a
Yeah.
comedy and a musical.
It's a comedy. It's actually really hard to describe. The music is by Richard Rodgers, and the lyrics are by Martin Charnin. It was after Hammerstein had passed.
Okay.
And the book itself is by Peter Stone, but it's based on a book called The Flowering Peach. At the very end of the musical, they make reference to this, that the youngest son and Japheth and Noah are having a conversation, and Noah looks off into the distance in a meadow and points to a tree and says, "What kind of beautiful flowering tree is that?" And his son Japheth says, "It's a peach, Papa." And it's a beautiful moment where we realize, even though there was all this death and destruction and the world was basically destroyed, life keeps moving forward. It always keeps going on.
It does.
And something beautiful came out of this horrible devastation.
Right.
But it's a loose interpretation on Noah's story in Genesis. It's a musical theater piece. So
Right.
it's funny, it's poignant, it's serious. There's drama, there's comedy. The music is fantastic. I wish it was a better known musical, but it's an 8-person cast. 4 members, including myself, 3 others from the Cathedral Choir are actually in it.
Who plays Noah?
I'm actually Noah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. It's pretty great. I get to transform and add about 550 years to my life to become a 600-year-old man. So.
Right.
But
that's
it's a
awesome.
great role, and the show is just wonderful, and the cast is charming and talented, and I can't say enough nice things about it. But it's pulled people out of the woodwork to be involved that may not volunteer to do something that they may not feel qualified for.
Right.
It takes a special group of people to help distribute communion in the church and be Eucharistic ministers, or to go visit shut-ins in the hospital and that kind of thing. This has opened up a whole new set of doors for people to be involved in a ministry that helps raise funds for preservation and renovation here on a building.
Right.
As it stands right now, we're taking about 1 collection of the month out to pay off a debt. Just think of all the beauty that we could do and help feeding people and clothing people if we didn't have to take one of our weeks of each month
pay off the debt.
to pay off the debt.
Right.
So that's really the whole impetus for all of this stuff that I believe that's happening here. There was a reason for us to come together and create a community and do something here in Midtown. Where the cathedral literally sits at pretty much the geographic center of Nashville. So whether we're Catholic, whether we're non-Catholics, this is sort of Nashville's church. It sits right at the center.
Right.
When 9/11 happened, this was the first church to do a giant ecumenical prayer service. A lot of country music artists who are non-Catholics opt to have their funeral services here simply because it's the central church in Nashville and big enough to handle it. So,
and some country music artists go here that are non-Catholic.
Absolutely.
And attend Mass, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, I know I've interviewed Father Breen last week, and he actually asked me to wait a week to put that on because I know he gets censored a lot, and I'm going to respect his wishes.
Absolutely.
But his heart and I think your heart are the same, which is it's just so awesome. I'm interviewing you for the Love Revolution because
Sure.
we really want to create a love revolution that opens arms to all walks of life and all beliefs
Absolutely.
and create a real sense of community and love.
Do you know what I find is really beautiful? It's really silly to say this, that we wanted to create a community theater, and as it stands right now, I think we have a Methodist, a Baptist, a Church of Christ, an Assemblies of God, 2 Jewish people, a Catholic, and a Lutheran involved in this production, and it's beautifully ecumenical.
That's awesome.
We all relate to this beautiful story of Noah. We all have it in common,
Right.
and we can all respect and reckon what each other believes about this. So it's a really neat thing. Yeah.
And the creative arts do that, and I think that's why music and theater are important, because they do paint the bigger picture where we can all come together.
Absolutely.
That's awesome, and you have been such a forefront runner of all of this, so thank you for leading your own love revolution.
Absolutely.
Here at Cathedral, and you
Yeah.
do an excellent job
Appreciate it.
of
Thank
that.
you.
So thank you for being with
Thanks
me
so
today,
much.
Kevin, and come out to the Music Fest, to the Writers' Rounds, come see the play.
Absolutely.
You're going to have a good time, I promise you that.
You can check out our information at Cathedral Players is real easy, cathedralplayers.org, SanGennaroMusicFest.org. I forgot to mention it's a $10 wristband, and you get in for the entire day. It's only $10.
Right.
So it's a great family
Affordable
family-oriented
day.
thing. Absolutely.
Right.
So And tickets for everything are affordable, so hopefully that'll help you find us on the web.
Yeah, and I will put the links to those sites underneath the video. So come check it out.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steph.
Thank you.